Your number one strength becomes your Achilles heel as your business, because it's the thing you're most critical of. And it's the thing you're going to say, yes, I can do this if it fails. Like if I owned a restaurant and the chef quit, I'm not running in the kitchen to start cooking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But a lot of entrepreneurs do that. And instead, what the problem is that you got to solve is figure out how to hire, train, and retain a chef. That's the owner versus operator mentality that a lot of people suffer with.
You know it. I know it. 2023 is almost done. It's crazy. 2024 is almost here, but we still have Q4 to rock and roll and make the most out of this time. That's why the new HubSpot Sales Hub is here to sync up everything inside of your operations, your team, and allow for collaboration to happen along the full customer journey so you're not missing a beat. And I'm talking about workspace, your analytics, everything's reporting across the board. So everybody's clued in and delivering as you should, bringing in more revenue. So with this whole thing, there's an AI platform they just rolled out, a conversational platform called ChatSpot. This thing's going to help you write copy using AI, generating emails, posts, so much more. All the stuff that you'd have to manually do, well, that's different now. So tons of integrations, 1,400 plus, tons of ways to integrate features into your workflow. So this is something you want to definitely look into right now for Q4. So now's the time to go make a switch to HubSpot Sales Hub over at HubSpot.com/sales. Dan, appreciate you for coming back for round 2. And I think I'm even more excited this time.
So it's an honor, man. I'm excited to be here. You've, the work you do, like I've listened to so many of your episodes, like the depth of questions and the way you extract the insights from people is really impressive. It's no doubt. That's why you've had so much success with the podcast. So I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, dude. And that's an honor saying you saying that about me. I know you're big on the media side of things. You've been doing that for years, working with the best of the best in the SaaS community. And I know there's always great things happening. And obviously your new book now, Buy Back Your Time, which is literally a user manual to buy back your time. I mean, it says it all. It's pretty damn obvious.
It's funny enough because I wrote it to buy back my time, which, people always like, why'd you buy it? Or why'd you write it? I'm like, for that reason. So yeah.
Do you read the title? That's all you got to read. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's literally an SOP or a playbook, like you say, on doing that. And like I was alluding to or telling you right before hitting record, I've had a nice revamp in my business, this podcast. It's been rebranded. I lost a co-host, but I gained so much more. But it's been all about systems, man. It's the only way this thing stays consistent. But then that's just like a motto for life. I feel like that's business. And it's pretty easy to get drained, our time and energy and money, if we don't have these things set in place. So kudos to you for releasing that and being open to like literally giving away your best of best shit.
Thank you.
It's out there. Yeah, man. But walk us back, man. So SaaS Academy, you've been doing that for years. That's probably what a lot of people know you of. And I know we talked a lot about that last time. I'm sure the SaaS game has changed a lot since we last chatted too, with AI, no code, all this stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Any, I guess like quick thoughts on that for the people that came for Dan Martell and they know you, for those days.
I'll talk about kind of like where I think the future goes. Yeah. And then, if you want to jump into like how I got here, but, the truth, the fundamentals, kind of like Jeff Bezos says, customers will always want a wider selection, product faster at the cheapest price. Like there's these fundamentals, right? And in business growth, because that's what people reach out to me for. I currently run 2 8-figure companies, the CEO. I've built and exited multiple companies. And I coach the best of the best. I mean, all the top coaches on the internet. I've had calls with them. I help them scale their programs. I help them scale their companies. And what I've discovered is there's 4 master skills, right? The 4 master skills are content, SOPs, media, capital, takes money to make money. So how do you produce a capital efficient company? The third is code, right? You just alluded to that, like automation and AI is a big area. And then the fourth is collaboration, people and leadership and hiring, right? So those are the 4 master skills. And to the degree that an individual, an entrepreneur starting off, any person, right, decides to master those skills is literally the unlock code for growth. And AI is just one of the most critical ones when it comes to the code side. But within that bucket of code, so is, data and information systems, reporting. Like I coach a lot of clients, and I always like to mess around with the executive team when I ask them, like, everybody write in the chat, how many customers do you have? And I'll get 3 different people giving 3 different answers. And sometimes the answers are wildly different. I mean, just answering that simple question of how many customers do we have active paying us is a tough thing for some people to figure out. So the AI stuff is just one of the most powerful, disruptive, and still needs to be integrated properly into the business, both as a tool to create value for the customer and also a tool to enhance the current output of a team member, right? And in all of my companies, it is 100% mandatory that AI needs to be a daily habit. There's no if, and, or buts. We train against it. We show people the tools to use it. It's essentially, I think in the future, there's going to be 2 types of companies. There are going to be companies that are AI companies and then companies that are out of business.
Damn right. I mean, that's the thing. It's not AI that's going to take over. It's the people who are using AI to do things, like you said, way more scale. There's still collaboration is a big piece. As part of those C's is, I know some people will just go deep into like AI is going to do it all. It's like there's still the people component. There's still this, your referrals. That's a massive part of anything you do to get extra scale. But yeah, the AI skills, I guess, like if you were to just sum everything up into the tools, call it top 3, and we don't need to go deep on this, but what are the tools like your team that you would require them, or I guess prompt them to use?
This is going to be a funny one because true to the nature of my book, I don't do a lot.
Good.
And so I actually don't know, nor is it my job to tell people. And because the truth is within AI, it changes every 3 months. Like I'm an investor in about 17 AI companies, right? And I talked to the CTO. I was on a call today. One of the companies I'm involved in is called wisdomai.com, and essentially like creates a GPT or an AI for your either an individual or a company, right? So there's no specific tool that I can recommend other than if you don't have, my quick filter for most of my clients that I coach is if you don't have a pro account or an API key for at least GPT or Bard or Claude, whatever AI, model you want to use, then you're probably not thinking about this to the degree I'm talking about. Right? Yeah. Like you literally have to have it ingrained into your business. And then I always empower the team leads to figure out, like in my media team, what AI plugins are they going to use or play with? Again, it changes so freaking like literally almost every week now. The team's trying something new to see if it is got a better result than the previous tool, right? Everything from audio to video to clips identification to transcription to classification to sorting to storage. You name it. AI is showing up in all the software, but at minimum, you should be using one of the AI models on a daily basis as part of your work, because I can't see a scenario where anything you do can't be enhanced by it.
That's right. Yeah, that's 80, if not 90+% of everything are those core things. And at least knowing how to integrate, leverage that technology into your current workflow. So I feel like that's the missing gap. Like that's the gap between most of this is the workflow. What are the playbooks, the systems that are happening between using tools like these, especially now with so many happening. I know people can fall flat and just like ruin all momentum if they're testing new things, integrating new things, telling their team, use this tool.
Totally. And the other day, like I was working on a deal, I was looking at an investment and there was some tax implication, and I had like my finance team and my legal team looking at this investment. And then they sent this, what's called an opinion letter, right? Essentially, it's like, we can't tell you what to do, but here's our opinion. And I don't know if I come off this way, but I don't like a lot of words. Like I'm a simple guy. I like working with people. And, there's a new person on the account and he sends this friggin' essay on all these different bylaws and structure and all that. And I just copied and pasted it, put it into AI and said, summarize this as a 3-year-old in 5 bullet points. And then I asked it to tell me what questions should I be asking as an investor interested in investing in this deal. And then I organized a 15-minute phone call and I got the decision made within 7 minutes. Like,
there you go.
And they were like, how did you know to ask those questions? I was like, AI. And they're like, that's crazy. I go, no, it's crazy that you don't know this.
That's
right? Because I'm using the tool now to circumvent you. In the future, you will not even be part of the conversation because we won't need and or want to have these kind of conversations that are just time sucks. Like your email from your team was ridiculous. Don't do that again.
Same with long distilled video. A lot of this stuff has AI, like long love Loom videos, but I know those can get drawn out, and luckily they have that stuff integrated in now. But you're right, man. That's usually my SOP. Is to go straight to bar, usually Claude for something long. Give me what I got to know, quickly, 80-20 of everything. So good advice, great advice. We'll leave it there for now, and I'm sure it'll pop up later on. But I want to talk about, now you've reached this point, you've created this incredible playbook of business, but I feel like it's life as well, because I've been already, before Travis, got to give you a shout out, Travis Houston, for reconnecting us. As always, got to give that shout. And I was already on the system, like, hey, we got to figure some stuff out. New team, a lot happening, a lot of scale potential. And then your book showed up. And I feel like it's always good timing. So dove in, and it's exactly what I wanted to see. And it's something that every entrepreneur listening, no matter what size company you're in, can implement and buy back their time, whatever it looks like, whatever level. So I'm curious, like, what brought you to the point to finally put this, slam it all into a book? And I know you went, like, you're going big with it too. So it's reaching more people, and I appreciate that. I love that. More entrepreneurs will see it. Walk me back a little bit of the story. SaaS Academy's in there. I know a bunch of other companies. Why the book? Why now? And what kind of led you to this point of writing it?
Yeah, I mean, and I started off the book with kind of the high level of my personal story, but unless your audience, is, went to prison, got in a high-speed chase and almost took their life, they're probably starting at a higher, level than I did, right? So like a lot of the stuff that I talk about really became the foundation for just saving my own life. Like going through rehab and learning to code was the substitution to my addiction, right? And then becoming an addict of writing code, which is a positive behavior. I always joke with people that, the homeless person on the street that's suffering, they're about 1 degree different than individuals, driving by in their McLarens, because the person who's created wealth, they just have a positive response to stress in their life. Whereas people that suffer, it's just a negative response, right? Through that addiction. So I just got lucky that I swapped out my addiction to drugs and alcohol for, building tools on the internet, right? And this is 1997, 98. So I pretty much have built all of my companies off the principles of software. And I think that's what's unique about my approach. When people are like, what's different about this? I think of things in systems because I'm a software engineer at heart. And the way you build code that's repeatable and scalable is through creating these components and modules and functions and whatnot. And the thing that saved my life was this predictability in the business model of SaaS, what we call it today, so software as a service. But before then, it was like, it was cloud, and before that was ASP, application service provider. And it's just this concept of, people used to buy software by spending millions of dollars for CDs and installing it on, servers in a cold data center. Yeah. Now we just pay $15 a month per employee and we get access to it in real time. So that predictable aspect of reoccurring revenue, it kind of filled this void inside of me that was just born with a lot of chaos. Like I grew up with so much uncertainty that there was something about that business model that really spoke to me. And I'll give full credit to that as the driving force forward, right?
Yeah.
So what happened is after I sold my first company when I was 28, became a multimillionaire, moved to Silicon Valley, did it again, built a company, exited that within, I think it was like 30 months, then did it again, did another company, Clarity, exited that company. And I think I did it in like 24 months. That was like, and then I started sharing, and actually Travis, giving him a shout out, he's the one that actually to this day said, why don't you do a YouTube channel?
Wow.
And that's when everything changed. I was down in San Diego, essentially retired at 30, I think I was 32, and had 2 young kids and my wife there. We were living down on the beach. And I ran into Travis in this random office at my buddy Chuck's place. He had this agency, and I went in one day a week to kind of get some emails done. And that started the media journey, right? Like creating the YouTube videos. And what I like, literally my first few videos was all around productivity and email and time, because that's what I learned in Silicon Valley from my mentors that was completely different. The 4 master skills I got from Naval Ravikant. Naval is now famous, but back then, less so. And he's the one that talked about leverage, and if I didn't figure that out, I don't think I would have had much more success, because I was my own worst enemy. I think that's what entrepreneurs do. It's like, if there's a problem and they can solve it, they try to solve it, which means that their number one strength becomes their Achilles heel as they grow their business. Yeah. Like, people need to write that down. Your number one strength becomes your Achilles heel as your business, because it's the thing you're most critical of. And it's the thing you're going to say, yes, I can do this if it fails. Like, if I owned a restaurant and the chef quit, I'm not running in the kitchen to start cooking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But a lot of entrepreneurs do that. And instead, what the problem is that you got to solve is figure out how to hire, train, and retain a chef. That's the owner versus operator mentality that a lot of people suffer with. So honestly, I wrote the book, I jokingly say to buy back my time, but it's not far from the truth. I had been teaching the principles, the buyback loop and the replacement ladder and the drip matrix, these core concepts in the book for almost 15 years. And when it came down to, I got approached by my agent and a few publishers to work on a book. That was the only thing that was on my heart that I felt really needed to exist in the world, that I felt like I had a unique perspective on. Yeah. And it's been a wild ride to watch it just take over. I mean, literally entrepreneurial community after entrepreneurial community, just pulling it into the HVAC community and the lawn care community. And, yes, I'm a software guy, but it has nothing to do with software. It's based on the principles I've extracted from being around and growing fast companies, like companies that grow 5,000%. I mean, right now, amongst my technology investments, I think we have 17 companies on the Inc. 500 list. I mean, these are literally the fastest growing companies in the world, and they all follow the same principles that I wrote about in the book.
There you go, man. And what I heard, I mean, you said this, but then I hear it even more with the startups that you did, and now the ones that you're invested in, 17, and more, I'm sure more to come that you're involved in.
I've got over 100 investments, but there's a lot of them that are just crazy growth right now.
Yeah, and what I hear, this common word is chaos. Like, and with entrepreneurship, restaurant owner, that's chaos. Sounds like, chef quits. What do you do now? You got people knocking at the door. I feel like a part of us as entrepreneurs, we're so used to it. Like, for one, we're problem solvers. We can't stop ourselves. I think you even said it. It's like, if we systemize ourselves out of the business, we're not going to just go sit on the beach with the laptop and, sip martinis forever or whatever. We're going to get fat. We're going to get burnt. We're going to, we're going to get back to the thing. Like, we'll do it for a week or two. And yeah, like, same with this podcast. I'm like, I can't give this up. It's like, there's an expression that we do, but there's this chaos. I feel like that I don't know if we thrive in it, but we're just so damn used to it.
We're comfortable in it. Right. Mm-hmm. So like in the beginning of the book, I talk about this because I just noticed this pattern. When I speak to entrepreneurial groups, I'd ask everybody to close their eyes and put their hand up if they've ever dealt with, chaos between the ages of like 7 and 13, and like 80% of the room's hands go up. And I don't think that that's uncommon. And the reason why is my hypothesis, and there's been research since then that's come out, is that when you're somebody that goes through, chaos as a child, and you learn to manage that, right? You become, independent at a very young age, then that independence, that opinion, that take care of yourselfness is an asset as an entrepreneur. It's a liability as an employee.
Yeah.
Right. And like, that's where a lot of entrepreneurs, it's almost like they can't be an employee because they have an opinion and they're willing to show up and they do the best work, and they get frustrated with people around them that aren't willing to do that. And it definitely comes from, learning to deal with uncertainty. I mean, that's the definition of entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. Is the person that can deal with uncertainty. I mean, you're creating the future with no guarantee it's going to happen. That being said, what needs to shift as an entrepreneur matures the business is an understanding that they can inadvertently create chaos from predictability because that feels more normal than the predictability, yet the business needs the predictability, right? The business needs, people need to know they go to work and every day they're not going to have whiplash from you coming in and throwing away all their work from the day before, the week before, the month before to go pursue this new, vision. Not to say that for the entrepreneur, they can't do that, but it has to be done within a structure. And oftentimes, entrepreneurs will throw hand grenades in their own business, where they'll decide to revamp the website and all of a sudden it causes 50% of their sales to drop off because somebody forgot to update certain, you know what I mean? Like there's just all these hand grenades or they add a new product line that makes no sense. It's like, we just found the rhythm and the momentum and we've got revenue growing and now you want to like launch a new product line, or, you decide, I've literally seen this where, things are going good. I'm going to take 7 weeks off and let the team figure it out.
Like figure it out.
Yeah. There's no company in the world that has a CEO that just leaves for 7 weeks and says, figure it out. I mean, that's just not how companies grow and thrive. So yeah, it's interesting, the whole chaos stuff, because I think a lot of it is it's emotional shrapnel. It's self-inflicted, right? The entrepreneur is creating that environment that's hard, that they need to go look in a mirror and say, how do I stop doing this?
Yeah, and it's a loop. It's definitely we get accustomed to it. We just keep stacking stuff on, and I know you mentioned it in the way that you lead your team and how you suggest others to do the same. Is you're not solving their problems for them, or you become that source of all of the solutions. And you even talked about it earlier. And yeah, without that perspective, taking a step back and understanding what am I actually doing day to day with my energy, with my time, with these team members I brought on, am I leading them or am I just directing them? And loving the chaos, loving the need to be in the middle of it all and have my hands in it. I see that as a vicious cycle. And I know you talk about that here as well.
I used to be that guy. I mean, like everything in my book comes from personal experience, right? And even though I back it up with research and, other stories and whatnot, I always try to share like how I learned these unfortunate, lessons. But like, I used to be the guy. I remember when I built my company Fier, and it was wild success financially, right? But it also took my engagement. Like my fiance left me. I was a horrible brother. I was a horrible son. I wasn't a very good friend. And I would remember like my calendar was full of like these meetings and structure to have everybody come to me with their problems. And then I would like, okay, what's your problem? And I would like route through all the, like, do this, right? And it was literally like the morning to the most part was like me doing biz dev and sales and trying to move the business forward and hiring. And then the afternoons, like just team meetings back to back to back, telling people what to do. And that was a lot of work. It felt heavy. It felt like I was burning dark energy. And everything shifted when I moved to Silicon Valley and I watched these 20-year-old kids raise hundreds of millions of dollars, build these billion-dollar companies within 5 years. And it didn't look hard, right? It wasn't easy, but the energy they brought to it was completely different. And the reason why was there's these incredible coaches, in the Valley, Bill Campbell being one of the most notable, Tony Robbins with Mark Benioff, and many others that were teaching these entrepreneurs. Naval, I would say, would definitely be in that camp as an investor. He would advise a lot of these entrepreneurs how they should show up for their teams. And it was this approach of, I'm here to support you, but I'm not here to do your work, right? The concept of an editor, not an author, right? And, even if it's deeply technical work or deeply creative work, like, shooting content or media or writing code, like all these things, I understand that people have these beliefs like, but what I do is so unique and different. I get that. But if you actually step back and you ask people to step up to the occasion and present you solutions, right? And I talk about this in the book, the 1-3-1 rule. Like when somebody comes to you with a problem, don't give them the answer. Ask them what options they've evaluated and try to come up with at least 3, right? And then ask them what one recommendation out of the 3 they think is the best answer. They'll give you that. 90% of the time, that is the right path forward.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now I've created this leadership structure that is a collaborative approach, not a transactional one-way tell them what to do. And it turns out if people help build the plan, they don't fight the plan, right? And all of a sudden now and this is where the chaos can easily rear its head. it feels too easy.
Yeah.
And it feels wrong. People are like,
where's my grenade?
Nobody's calling me and they're doing all this work and I don't feel like I'm working hard enough. Like,
guilt.
Is that right? I know I'm not, but I mean, it literally, I got to work with clients and just be like, no fires is okay. Now let's go talk about filling up your time. So I talk about my book, The Buyback Loop, with the right things to grow the business. Not throw hand grenades and let people do the work because you asked them. You hired people to do a job, right? And Steve Jobs says this. He said, it's easy to hire people and tell them what to do. It's hard to hire people and have them tell you what to do.
Yeah.
I hire, like you asked me about the AI. I hire people that are going to tell me what AI tools they're going to use.
I love the answer too. Yeah,
it's a different approach.
Big announcement here. The Hustle and Flowchart podcast is now the newest podcast on the HubSpot podcast network. They're the audio destination for business professionals. It's exactly why I joined the network, to expand what we've been doing here, making business the fuel for your life, not the stressor or the burnout. We want to build fun and make business a big part of who we are and our expression out to others. So you're going to expect a lot more curated guests and that sync up with this mission. Also more topics and episodes from me. And I want you to keep listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. Go check out other shows on the HubSpot podcast network at hubspot.com/podcast network. Are you looking to earn more online? It's time to meet Kartra. It's your ultimate all-in-one business platform that makes it even easier to boost your income online. So with Kartra, creators, coaches, and experts can turn their knowledge and services into profits. You can create pages, funnels, and attract customers, build membership sites, and share your knowledge, automate your business so you can free up your time and do a whole bunch of other fun stuff. So Kartra has every tool you need to grow your business in one place. And the best part is that it's super affordable and easy to use. So now's the time to streamline and scale your biz. Head over to hustleandflowchart.com/Kartra and snag a free 30-day trial. Again, that's hustleandflowchart.com/KARTRA. And that's, this buyback loop. I definitely want to dive into that and because you mentioned that a handful of times now. And I guess now is a great time because I was going to also mention one other principle, and I just have already been putting this into coaching calls, putting it into my own team, clients and internal team, is this 10-80-10 concept, and I freaking love it. I don't know which one is in the best order to introduce first. I guess I'll leave it to you on that regard because we still get our hands involved, but it's in the right ways and it's pre-planned.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the 10-80-10 rule because it's closest to what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, and I noticed this with all the highest performer CEOs, right? And you can literally see the pattern in the Steve Jobs to the Gary Vaynerchuks to whoever, right? Especially around deeply creative and technical endeavors. Usually the 10% is essentially the ideation, right? It's, hey, I want to revamp our website. Here's everything. And I always try to explain it this way: is you want to paint the mountaintop, right? If I'm ideating somebody with a new website, I'm coming to that meeting prepared to say, here's what success looks like, right? And what are the 3 to 6 criteria of success? I think it's really important that everybody get really clear of when this thing is done, these things are true. And this is the vision, right? You can call it what you want, but it's that first 10%. Then from there, just like Steve Jobs would go into the design studio with Johnny Ives and say, I've got this crazy idea of putting 1,000 songs in my pocket. I don't know, and then we could integrate this and that. And, I don't know how it would work, but Johnny, I want you to kind of explore it some more. Right. And then Johnny would do the other 80%, which is actually doing the work. Right. Yeah. And that 80% is, it could be, designing, doing the whole website, getting it, hiring the contractors, putting together with the clear understanding of what it needs to look like at the end. And then the last 10%, that's why it's the 10-80-10 rule. That's the integration work. That's the Steve Jobs taking it and working on the slides for the keynote, right? Or, Gary V, seeing all the videos that people have edited, grabbing one and writing the caption and posting it on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, right? It's the final part, or it's like me working with my writing partner and going away for 5 days and doing a final rewrite, edit, copy, approved version of my book because this is my words and my stamp and my fingerprint, right? Like, but it's not the whole thing, right? It's the 10-80-10 allows highly creative people. I mean, it's just like you with your podcast, right? And I don't know what the process is, but if I had a podcast like this, essentially as soon as I hang up, everything else would be done, right? It's like even the booking of the guest to, the queue, the scheduling, everything. It's literally, I wake up, I show up, I've got my notes here. I do 5 minutes of prep. I get on the call, I do my conversation, I hang up, I go to another one, maybe you batch them. But that's the concept that a lot of people need to understand. The 10-80-10 rule allows you to scale yourself in ways that are creative, that doesn't allow you to become the bottleneck, because in that structure, if you're Johnny Ives and Steve Jobs, or you're Gary Vee, like we're talking major scale. Like these companies, billions of dollars of value in the world. So anybody that's trying to crack 100K, I really have no excuse of that not working, because it does work.
It does work, and it still retains this personable, or the vision of the founder, Steve Jobs, and then Gary Vee. I mean, you get this sense that they're always, I mean, who knows? I can't speak for Gary Vee. I mean, they're all working their asses off, obviously, but they're on the right things, and they still have that approach that it's still their thing. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel like they lose touch of their business if they're somehow not involved. Maybe that's why the grenades are thrown.
Well, and they might be forgetting the last 10%. I mean, this is the thing, is you could do the first 10, the 80, but you forget the last 10, and that's where you feel that way.
Bingo. Yeah. That's what stood out to me, was that last 10%. It's like you still almost get that gratification, but at the end of the day, it's a fingerprint. And that starts, vision, middle, fingerprint, out into the world, expression. I think it's just a cool concept, and I haven't heard it before you mentioned it. So, buyback loop. I want to talk about how that integrates and how it is this continual process on a lot of what you've been talking about here.
What I've learned a long time ago is entrepreneurs won't grow into pain, right? If right now I said, okay, you triple the size of your business tomorrow, your leads, what breaks? People are like, well, fulfillment would break, and sales would break, and billing would break, and like the whole thing would break. So guess what? They won't grow. Okay. So like opportunities show up every day in our lives. It could be a conversation next to a person on a plane, to an email, to a partner that could triple our volume or whatever. And entrepreneurs will literally drag their feet and self-sabotage their way to success because they will not grow into pain. Okay. So my rule is that as soon as I feel like my calendar is starting to feel work and painful, as long as my business is growing and I have the capital, then my whole philosophy, and this is what's called the buyback principle, is I don't hire people to grow my business. I hire people to buy back my time. I'm going to say it again. We don't hire people to add capacity. We hire people to buy back our time, because if I do the second, I get the first. But if I do the first, I don't get the second. Most businesses that feel pain, it's because they've hired, honestly, more expensive people that are specialists, but they don't have enough infrastructure to support that. And then they're running around, emptying the garbage and taking, doing onboarding calls and making sure the billing gets done. Like just a bunch of banana stuff they shouldn't be doing, right? Yeah. So what the buyback loop states is, once you feel the pain line, right, this pain of growth, you have to do three things. Number one is you have to do a time and energy audit. You literally look at the last 2 weeks of your calendar and you circle in red things that suck your energy and in green that give you energy. And then you put a dollar amount next to the cost of paying somebody else to do it. Is it $1, very cheap, or $4, very expensive, right? And it's arbitrary based on the size of your business. But that'll at least give you an idea of all the things that are red that are $1 or $2 signs. That's your spec list for your next hire. That's literally, what do I need to hire for next? That. And ideally that buys 20, 30 hours out of your calendar. That's why I teach the concept of replacement ladder in the sequence of hiring. But once I do the time and energy audit, then I'm going to the transfer side. Okay. So I do the audit. Second one's transfer, then fill. Transfer is taking that stuff that I'm doing and giving it to somebody else. And most people are scared about that, because like hiring a lot of people, or hiring even one person, takes a lot of time to train them, right? Yeah. And they're always worried, well, what if I train them and they leave? And I always say, well, what if you don't and they stay? You got to train them, right? So training really comes down to a simple process that I still do to this day. Literally every day I do this. It's called the camcorder method, where I'm recording myself doing the work. Yeah. So let me just give everybody a sense of how cool this could get. One, I don't pack my clothes. When I go on trips, I just got back from a big mountain bike, heli biking, downhill heli biking. Nice. I didn't pack my bag, okay? I don't create slides for my keynotes. I don't create trainings. I don't do anything that isn't a creative process for myself. I literally look at my calendar and say, I only want to spend time with people I care about, and I want to create stuff that only I can create. Other than that, it needs to get out of my calendar, right? Now, we don't start there. I've earned the right to get there by being disciplined in my, buyback loop. But the transfer process for all of those steps is videos. And then I have the person receiving the video create the SOP. And then I use that to train new people so that there's always a quick way to go from 0 to hero for every new hire. So that's the transfer side. And then the fill. This is where most people fill. See, if you think of it like a loop, that last part of the fill, if you don't fill, you actually don't get the forward momentum. And that's where everybody messes it up. They do the audit, love it. They transfer, cool, hired somebody, but then they don't replenish their calendar with one of two things. It's either doing more of the thing you do that makes you money. So if you're a logo designer, create more logos. If you're a coach, fill up your time that you just bought back with more coaching calls until you're at capacity, okay? And then you buy back your time, and then over time, you'll have free space. Well, what do you do with that? To me, my argument is you want to invest in yourself, right? Because if you want more in your business, you got to become more. John Maxwell calls it the law of the lid. Like a business will never grow further than the investment of the owner into their own personal growth. Like period, full stop. It's, Jim Rohn said, don't wish the world was easier, wish that you were better. That philosophy holds true in the fill. So what are the 3 areas that you should invest in? Okay. If you're going to fill your calendar with new things, these are the 3 areas. Number 1, it's your skills, right? Every person should know what are the 3 skills you have to develop this year, this quarter to become more for your company and or projects you're involved in. So skills is number 1, right? And for most people, it's going to be lead gen and sales, right? Or it's going to be lead gen and systems, or it's going to be lead gen. Like, you know what I mean? Like most people don't have enough customers, but even if they had more, they don't know how to deal with them. So those are skills though. You can learn those. Go invest in those things. Buy the books, buy the courses, find the coaches, go to the sessions, go to the seminars, whatever it is. The other area is beliefs, right? The truth is there's no lack of how-to on the internet, how to do anything. You can literally search how to. My dad just recently cemented his own driveway, and he found several videos on YouTube that walked him through it step by step so that he did it for $2,000 instead of $10,000 hiring somebody to do it for him, right?
Sure.
So the how-to is there. What is lacking is the beliefs around doing the work, right? So some people, for example, like they could go on the internet to figure out how do I create a YouTube ad for my business, but their belief is, well, I don't want to look like Ty Lopez, right? I don't want to look like Russell Brunson. I don't want to look like whoever they think is, running video ads on the YouTube that they have judgment around. Like, but that's a belief, right? Because nobody said that you had to look like that or say those things or even come across that way. Like you can decide how you show up on camera. So that belief is stopping you from the how-to. So I always tell people like really go deep on your beliefs. And typically it's around abundance and money mindset and scarcity and fears, right?
Oh yeah.
Then the third area is character traits. And the way I think about it is the skills is like the left side of the success ladder. The beliefs is the right side of the success ladder. And then the character traits are the steps that lock everything in. So what are character traits that help you climb the ladder of success? Consistency, determination, fearlessness, directness. Like there's all these character traits about successful people, right? Successful people make decisions. Most people sit on their hands, right? Like they're going to eventually have to make a decision, and you could either make it today or in 3 weeks, but you're going to have to make a decision. Again, decisiveness is a character trait. So I always say if you're trying to build that ladder of success, yes, get the skills to figure out how to move the business forward, then figure out what beliefs you have that are not serving you. So like that's the biggest fear is what do I believe that is simply not true? Because if I didn't believe that, it would change the way I prioritize my life, which would get me the results I'm after. And then what character traits, who do I need to become to be able to attract and or support that new level of wealth? Because this is the reality. If we took all the money, we kind of did this global experiment recently, but if we took all the money in the world and distributed it evenly to everybody in the world, within months, it would be back in the hands of the people that had it originally.
That's right. That's like the lotto, right? It's the same
like
kind
that's
of concept.
not that's like because the people that get the money, like Jim Rohn used to say, he said, you should wish that if you got $1 million that you became a millionaire really quick, because those are two different things, right? I think you were just alluding to that with the lottery. Like,
that's right.
If you don't know how to manage the success and you accidentally get the success, you will lose the success. And most people aren't ready. And that's why I always tell you, I really want to just end on this, on the buyback loop is when we're going through challenges, we should actually remind ourselves that this is preparing us to receive the thing we've been asking ourselves for. Think about that. No matter what you're dealing with, a tax audit, a business partner screwed you over, the government, the bank said this, the team member, the customer, whatever the person listening right now believes. I'm telling you, it's getting you ready to receive the thing you've been asking for. And if you don't look for that learning, then when you receive that thing, you will quickly lose it.
Man. And I know that goes back even into the North Star. Like, where are you headed? You know, what's the game plan to even get there? And yeah, oh man, this actually reminds me of kind of like the main idea. I know you said a sentence kind of like this, but if like you buy back your time to unlock another level of your growth, and I think I added this part, is not to just sit on your ass and let life happen to you.
Well, and that's the whole thing about people, people that don't have money go, I would love to be rich so I don't have to work. And unfortunately, people that have that mentality never get rich, because that's not how you get rich.
No.
Right? So like my whole subtitle of my book is Get Unstuck, Reclaim Your Freedom, and Build Your Empire. But build your empire for me is creating a life of unlimited creation you never have to retire from.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's like, if you strive to wake up every day, and I always frame it this way, is like, don't try to do the least amount of work to get paid the most. Try to wake up to be able to create the most value for other people in the world. The second one will actually get you wealthy. The first one will keep you poor.
Yeah, that's true. And you need one, but you got to get there. Yeah. It's all connected. And yeah, it's very interesting, because I was doing more of a self-reflection process, and I was like, okay, a character trait of mine, very curious, very creative. It really doesn't matter. It could be arts, working out, music, business, writing, podcasting. But if I don't create space for that creativity, and I know that's my superpower, or at least something I know I can harness and go deeper on when I create that space for that, why aren't I not building the systems to foster that, to put that on my calendar, but also not just place fun stuff or whatever that time on my calendar, but also know I have people and systems behind me to do things way better than I ever could. This goes back a little bit, but it's an energy thing. I feel like you said, pushing dark energy. Speak to that a little bit, because I think we feel it more that way. Time, we all have the same 24 hours. We always talk about that. But at the same time, like, I have been auditing, my time, 15-minute increments, like another rehash of it. And it's pretty damn eye-opening to see where time goes. Setting a stopwatch, having to remind something. Everything has 15-minute timers. And then just seeing like, wow, that's where time is going for me right now. And of course, do the whole highlighter thing, dollar signs. But at the same time, it was like this, I think the aha moment really was to see, oh shit, I'm putting off these creative acts, the things that light me up, that make me, and I'm just letting the time slip away, and I'm putting probably dark energy towards things that I don't enjoy. My energy's not going up because of those tasks.
The way I think about life is, I think every human is here to create from a place of flow state. So if you think of what flow state is, if you've been fortunate enough to experience it, essentially it's getting to a place where time actually is distorted, and in the book I talked about math class and art class. Like when I would go to math class, and it was an hour-long class, it felt like every second just was so, like, I remember it's like I'm hearing the clock count down, right?
Been there, yeah.
Yes. And then I go into art class, and you hear the bell ring, and what felt like 3 minutes, the bell rings, the art's over, and I'm like still into it because I lost all track of space and time, right? And for me, that's the that is a lighter energy, right? Yes, sometimes we have to put our heads down and get the work done. I'm not opposed to doing hard work. I do Ironmans, I do ultras. I'm
cool.
I grind when I have to, but I also understand there's a space and time. But what I like to focus on, and this is why I have to do the buyback loop 3-4 times a year with my assistant, is figure out, because some things used to be green that turn yellow and eventually red. Like, not too long ago, I was part of a board, and the board meeting went from green to yellow. And as soon as it got a little close to red, I just reached out to the executive chairman and asked to resign from the board. Yeah. That's just because that's a stage I'm at in my life where I literally, if I don't feel like it's using my creative juices in the right way and lighting me up in my soul to keep me in flow state, I'm just not going to do it. And giving yourself permission to say no is a very powerful thing. And I talk about this in the book, right? Most people don't realize a yes is a no and a no is a yes. Let me unpack that. A yes is saying indirectly no to something else that's a priority, okay? And a no is saying yes to creating the space for you to become more. So most people just don't realize when they're saying yes and no, they're not creating that space. So that's why it's important to do an inventory of our time and go, where am I really in flow state and feel like this is a good use of my time that produces a bunch of revenue or potential revenue for my business versus what's taking my energy that really shouldn't be done by me. Because, I get asked as an example all the time, should I hire a COO? And my first question is, do you have an executive assistant? And they usually say no. And I go, then no, you don't need a COO. You need an executive assistant. Okay. Because here's what I know. If you don't have an executive assistant, you are the assistant. And the truth is you probably suck at it and you're overpaid.
That's right.
So you don't need to hire a COO to manage the business. You need to have somebody manage you so that you have the time to manage the business, get to a place where a COO makes sense, but learn how to have that interaction and process and conversations with your executive assistant before you go and spend 3, 4, 5 times as much money on a COO to run your business, where you don't have the skill set yet to do that.
Yeah, man. And let's end it on that note, because it's perfect. And I've been kind of waiting for this. And I know you have a whole process here we can provide folks, because I have a badass operations manager. I've seen her, but I never put her in the EA position and to do all that. And I'm like, why that? Like, it was just like this, duh. So literally she's getting started right now and has gone through some of the resources from the book. She's starting to read the book and she's like, this is it. This is it. Like, why haven't we done? I'm like, yes, I know. So tell me about, because I really feel like the EA process is something that, or just knowing that you need an EA, figure out what your time is worth. You have a whole equation on that. It becomes abundantly clear that I think it's like 4X. It's like divide your revenue, your earnings, by 4, and you basically figure out like what the
buyback rate is. Yeah,
the buyback rate.
Anytime you do anything for more than that amount, you're essentially working against yourself.
There you go. So it's like, it's black and white. So we don't need to, it's not like a conditional, they like, just do the dang thing. And we're ready for it. You're ready for it listening now. Hit us up with, obviously, Buy Back Your Time is the book. Go get that. But give us this EA process, or where you feel like maybe some thoughts, and then that link.
Yeah, I mean, so chapter 6 of the book is really where I unpack how I work with my executive assistant that is based off the highest performers in Silicon Valley and just me doing this for decades. And honestly, learning from, even Richard Branson. So I like talk about that story where I got to watch him execute for a week. I was staying in his house in Switzerland, and it was just fascinating, right? Most people then, I'm the same way. I just want to, I call myself a frustrated builder. Like, just give me the checkbox, the list, the process. So if anybody wants my internal executive assistant playbook, like my SOP, all I ask is follow me on Instagram, right? It's a little give and take. And then just message me on Instagram, EA, okay, executive assistant. And I will send you the direct Google, sanitized, of course, with all my personal information out of it. But I'll give you my internal playbook for how my assistant executes all the stuff I teach in my book, and a ton of stuff that never made the book, obviously, because my editor said, this is not a university textbook. This is a bestseller. So let's take all this out. But it's got everything. It's got our North Star principles. It's got how we manage travel and our preference sheets and all these other things that I think will really give people a 360 view of, oh, there's a difference between a virtual assistant and an executive assistant. And the answer is yes. And, if you follow my stuff and you hear my arguments, to me, that's the first hire. I don't care what business you're in, what stage of business you're in. If I started over from scratch tomorrow, I would borrow money from my brother and I would hire an executive assistant and we'd start day one that way, because it's just the most efficient trade that you can make.
Leverage. It's instant leverage.
Instant.
Yep, in so many ways, man. So yeah, go get that. Go find Dan on Instagram. Go hit him up in the DMs.
Yeah, it's Dan Martell, 2 L's of Martell on Instagram. But yeah, Dan Martell, you'll find me.
Yeah, and send EA and go buy back your time. Obviously, we know why you should be doing that. So go grab that book. Dan, appreciate you so much, man, for being open and providing these resources. And yeah, it's unique.
Joe, it's an honor, man. And I just want to share this with your audience because, I love your specific community. I say that, and I don't say this often, but because I've been on before, I really believe 2 things. Every human is here to do 1 of 2 things. One is become the best version of themselves, right? What I call the 10.0 version of ourselves. And the only way to do that, and I did it by design, to buy back your time to create the space to become that person. Another way to think about it is become the person you needed most in your darkest days, right? Like, I know who I would have listened to as a teenager going through all those challenges. And it required me to step up and become who I am today and that's a big part of my life. It's what I'm most proud of. I still spend a lot of time talking and working with at-risk youth. So that's step 1, become the best version of yourself. And step 2 is, share that process and path with the world, right? And if your world is your kids or your family or your community, then cool. I would encourage you to share with the world, right? The people that follow you, your friends on Facebook, call it social media, call it being that guy on the internet. I don't honestly care what you call it, but I just can't see where you giving of yourself isn't a thing that will be a net positive for everybody involved. And I would just hope everybody can get to a place where that feels like a calling for them, just like it is for you, Joe.
Appreciate it, man. And you called it out right. That is what fuels me. So go get it, y'all. Dan, appreciate you, man. I'll talk again soon.
Cheers.